Hi everyone, welcome to this extraordinary, shall we call it, live. This is not usually my job. I'm the other side of the camera, which is probably where I prefer to be. But Miss P challenged me to have a go and never want to resist a challenge. For those that didn't watch the previous live or aren't on the Facebook group, Miss Paintalot's Junk Journal group, I'll just quickly explain what it's all about. On Tuesday, she challenged everybody to take 5 things and to make their version of a tag. The 5 things were a doily, said doilies, ink, got a couple of choices of ink, lace, bit of lace, a button, or buttons, there's a button, and some die cuts or fussy cuts. Obviously, if you've got a Sizzix type machine, then obviously you can do a die cut. If you haven't got one of those, you can just fussy cut an image from a magazine or a printed out papers or whatever, and I've got some of those too. There we go, just a couple of bits there. This is the one that she did during the live. As you can see, it's a tag. She's used a button there, some lace there, some die cut flowers over the top of a pink doily, and then various splatterings of ink, and she's tied it off nicely at the top with a bow, and on the back is plain for journaling. So the first thing I had to do was consider my options, and I think the best thing to do when you're considering your options is to put on your thinking cap. And there we go. So I sat there for a while considering my options, and it just wasn't coming to me. For some reason, this thinking cap was not working. It just wasn't having a mojo day. So I thought, I know, I'll take some advice from Joey and stroke me imaginary beard for a while. And I came to the realisation it was the wrong thinking cap. I should have been wearing this one. So it came to me in a flash. I'll do a black and white one. And that's what I'm going to do. Having come to the decision I was going to do a black and white one, dichromatic, I then needed to consider what I was actually going to do with the black and white, because the easy part is thinking, oh, I'll avoid colours, I'll use black and white. So what we're going to do next is assemble some of the things that I thought I might need during this. So we'll put them away, having assembled the 5 things. And I decided the best thing to do was probably to do it on some black card. I thought I'd have the black as the background and build up some things on top of it. So the next thing I need to do is decide what size tag I'm going to do. As you all know, Miss P has a bag of templates for tags, and I think the one that she used was this one, which is 6.5 by 3.5, which I think is probably about the right size for what I have in mind. I've never made this before, so it's going to be a bit of suck it and see. But I think I'll go with the 6.5 by 3.5. I think if you went for anything smaller, for instance the 5.5 by 3, once you start introducing doilies, they're kind of a bit big for it. They take over too much. So we're going to stick with the 6.5 by 3.5. So the first thing we need to do is to cut out a tag out of our black card. This particular card is from a company called Fabriano. It's called Black, and it really it's what they call a non-sized paper. It has a size, but it doesn't have size on it, and it's really meant for pasteling, using soft pastels on. So it absorbs soft pastels really well, and it's 300 grams per square metre, so it's relatively thick, but it's perfect for me. It's probably a bit too expensive really to make tags out of, but it's the only black I happen to have to hand, and use what you've got, I say. So we'll just mark this up and cut it out. Are you still on the camera there? Yes, good. Let me get a light coloured pencil, because otherwise I'm not going to see it. Oh no, excuse me, let's try and find a light coloured pencil. I did say this was not planned, so no, can't find one. That one might work. Just going to draw around that.
You can say pencil.
Can you?
Yeah.
Apparently you can see pencil, but I'm there now. So we'll just get a rotary cutter. I've only got the left-handed one. I'll just go and fetch the right-handed one. And once I do this, it gives me time to think actually what I'm going to be doing. The first thing I'm going to do is take my glasses off so I can actually see what I'm doing. We're going to just line that up and trim it off all the way to the top. Hopefully we should only have to make one, unless it all goes horribly wrong, which is always a real possibility. As I say, I think I consider my role to be more of a helping out in the background role. I guess you could liken me to a good brazier. I offer support, but you wouldn't want me on show, and you're glad when I'm taken off. The angles in. And there we go, that's our basic tag shape. Now, most people tend to use tags, most but not all, in the vertical sense. All at the top, and the arrange the things on it so that you can see it from that way. For what I've got in mind, it's going to work better for me vertically or landscape. So I'm just going to, that is the way that I will be decorating it, so that you can put it in a tuck spot from the side, and that's perfectly acceptable, and it just works best for what I've got in mind. Now the first thing I'm going to do is some of the dreaded stamping. Oh no. And for this, well, I'm going to do some stamping and embossing. Oh, what a day, eh? Friday the 13th, and I choose to do all these things. Must be bonkers. Just going to put a piece of paper under there, because obviously with the embossing we're going to be sprinkling stuff on. And we're going to use the stamp that you may have seen before, you may not have done. And it is this one. Some of you will recognise it. It's Santa and his sleigh with some reindeer-y things sticking out the front. I'm going to put that on that card somewhere like that sort of area, I would think. I'm going to ink it up, and because we're going to be putting embossing powder on, I'll need to do that quick and get the embossing powder on, so I'll explain what I'm doing first and then actually do it straight off. The ink I'm going to be using is this fast drying pigment ink, Brilliance Dewdrop. I think it's one of those Kineko, is that how you pronounce it? And it's in a moonlight white, so we're using a nice white ink so it shows up really well on our black card. And the embossing powder that I'm going to be using is this by Sheena, and it's called White Puff Ultra High. And obviously it's white, but it has a puff element, so when I eat it, it's going to expand. Hopefully we're going to retain all the detail on the stamp and not lose it with the puff, but it will give it a bit of depth and a bit more interest. So the first thing I need to do is to ink the pad up. Take my top off the embossing powder so that we're ready. Ready the ink pad. We're going to ink this up, stamp it, put that on, then we can relax. So bear with. Just going to tap this on there. Being a nice white, you can see that when you've got it on the stamp where it is. Sometimes with the darker colours, if you've got an older stamp, it's hard to actually tell whether you've got the ink on there. So I need quite a bit, because obviously I want the ink to still be sufficiently damp that when I put the embossing powder on, it sticks. What could possibly go wrong? Here we go. Let's put that about there, I suspect. Push that down, lift it off. Sprinkle away. There we go. So at this point we can actually breathe. Just get a wet wipe and clean the stamp. Always a reasonably good practice, I think, to stop a build-up of ink on your stamps, particularly when they're ones with quite fine detail. You don't want to lose that detail later on. So I'll just clean that off. Put that to one side because that's now finished with. I'm going to shake that off onto the card. Let's dry my hands first on my trousers. And we're going to shake that off. And hopefully you can see there that that's, I think, come out very well. It's still got the detail. You can still make out what it is. So we'll put that back into the pot before we get the heat gun to that. Because it's awfully tempting to take the heat gun straight to that, but if you've left your embossing powder on your bit of paper, it'll emboss underneath and it'll all be wasted. So I'll put that to one side. I haven't finished with that. I'll need that again in a second. We'll get round to that. Now we'll get the heat gun. And I'll try and hold that up maybe, and maybe you might be able to see it when it starts to puff up. Let's just go in now. We can see it. Yeah, I can see it even if you can't. There we go. Right, that'll do. We don't overdo it, overcook it. You can see that now. If you actually feel it when it's cooled down, it's got a bit of a spongy element to it because that is expanded upwards. But it's only expanded upwards, not outwards, so you still retain all the detail. So that step one. Whew, you can breathe now, or I can anyway. Right, so obviously, as you've probably gathered by now, this is going to be the night sky. Because where else would he be but flying through the air? Wasn't that a song? It was a snowman, wasn't it? Right, so now what we're going to do, I think, is in the night sky, always good to have a moon, I think. Not an actual moon, I mean the moon in the sky. Don't go round mooning at night. It's not wise. This is a Ranger Distress embossing dabber, and it's basically embossing glue, I suppose, for want of a better word, and it comes in a round daubery shape, which is perfect for my moon. So what I need to do is to ready the powder again. Decide where I'm going to put my moon, probably somewhere up in this top corner. Hold the card down, dab it down a few times to create a nice circle. Sprinkle some of that on. Put the top on my dabber, stop it drying up. Now finished with that. Put my top on the embossing powder, finished with that. Shake that off. And there we go, something that kind of resembles a moon if you were... Oh, I'll put the top back on that, and I haven't put the stuff away yet. There we go. So now I need to make that moon slightly more puffy. To begin with, will you be able to see it do anything? Possibly not. Oh, there we go, look, that went all of a sudden. And now you can see that is moon, and because it's sort of puffed up and looks slightly more cratery, it looks more moon-like, I feel. So this is going too well, I'm worried now. So the next item that I'm going to use off the list, because the one I've used so far, I guess you could say, was the ink, and nothing else so far, is some doily. And what I thought I might do is try and create some sort of snowy type ground, some snowdrifts maybe, some snow-covered hillock. You'll just have to use your imagination. That's what we're going to try and achieve. So I've got two different types of doily, just for a bit of added interest. That one's slightly smaller than that one, so I'm going to put that one down first, I think. Maybe something like... What do we think? Maybe something like that, maybe? Something like that. And then what we'll do with this one is come in maybe slightly more like that. And that is going to kind of create some sort of snow-like background. So I think what I will do is cut some out. I think it's probably the best way of doing it. Make sure I come across far enough. That's an artistic consideration at the moment. There's got a bit of a square bit on. You see that on that napkin? It's got a bit of a square bit which is catching my eye. I don't like that. That's going to annoy me forever if I don't chop it off. That's better. So what do I do? Let's try something like that, do you think? Let's get a pencil. Draw it slightly wider than it needs to be, because I can always chop it off afterwards. Easier to go over the edge, I think, when sticking these things on. I could wrap it round to the back, but if I'm going to coat the back in some sort of white journaling paper, I don't want to make it too lumpy. So, right, scissors, 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 scissors. Let's have a go at chopping that out. On there so it comes over the edge slightly. Right, so we'll glue that down. We'll use just some, I think this might be the Collall multi-purpose glue. It's very similar to Fabri-Tac, it's just a bit more liquidy, so you get a bit longer time to actually position things. So we'll just go and go round. This may take some time, just to dot some round, try and get the edges. Try and get as many places as I can, particularly there where the big bit of paper is. If I was using Fabri-Tac, I think it'd probably be going off by now and I'd be in a bit of trouble. But I think that's probably sufficient. Let me get a board. Let me get glue on the mat. Let me just pop that down somewhere like that. There we go. You have to use your imagination as whether that's going to be a snowy background just for the moment. Now what we're going to do is put some of this other doily kind of over there just to give it a bit of a different texture, and it'll take up some of that black out of the other one. I'm going to bring it up slightly higher and cut across from there. Now, because I've got two doilies, I want to give it some sort of idea of depth. And the way you do that really, as with any type of art really, is the darker colours send things back and the lighter colours bring things forward. So I'm just going to run a little bit of black ink around that edge, not very much, but just a little, and it'll just give some idea that there might be a shadow behind it, so it'll bring that one forward and push that one back. But actually I'll cut it out first, I think is probably the way forward, and then we won't get too much inked. Again, we'll just come off the edge slightly, give me a little bit of room. So we're happy with that? I think so. I mean, it's good advice for most craft and art projects really, is that dark colours go backwards and lighter colours come forwards. Often you might look at a picture and think it doesn't look quite right, and usually it's because they haven't paid enough regard to the shadows and bringing things forward and back. And you look at a picture and something that should be at the front of a picture is too far back because it isn't light enough compared to the background. That's personal opinion, of course. I mean, I think that's often the case, that people neglect the shadows. So there we go. Let's just darken up this top edge. Just run a little bit of ink around that top edge, just to give it the idea that perhaps there's a shadow behind it, and this snowbank hillock is in front of the other one. We don't want them to blend together too much. There we go. So that's the second ink. Ooh, that's 2 inks we've used. So now when we put that on there, you may see that, I would hope that that other one just comes forward slightly because it's got that black edge, whereas if it was like that, they would be sort of on a par. I think that might be coming across on the camera. If it isn't, well, what can you do, eh? So we're going to do the same on this, just run a bit of glue around. I'm assuming everybody's quiet today. I'm not getting any feedback from anybody. I think she's chatting with you and leaving me to my own devices, flying solo.
Well, people are generally behaving themselves.
That's good.
Generally, I've had some close shaves for the naughty step.
Oh, well, I could probably name the people that would be.
I'll tell you, it's Maureen, Julie and Hilda. Hilda's got an excuse because she's not feeling well. Julie, well, she says that she was watching but hadn't logged into live chat. And Maureen, she was just late.
Right, so anyway, there we go. That's kind of some sort of snowy landscape, you'd say, wouldn't you? Yeah, I would. Please say yes. Let me just get rid of that gluing board for a second. And what we can do now is to turn that over and we can trim them off from the back. What did I do with the thing? No, doesn't that use the other one. We'll put that along that edge.
Do you want a roll call?
Yeah, go on, let's have a roll call. Let's see who's lurking out there.
Right, we've got, I'm going right to the top here. Oh my goodness, there's a lot more. We have got Kerry.
Kerry, hi Kerry.
Bernice.
Hi Bernice.
Deborah.
Hi Deborah.
Shaz.
Hi Shaz.
Helen.
Hi Helen.
Susan.
Susan, hi.
Roz.
Roz.
Maureen.
Maureen again?
Oh, I said Maureen already. Sorry. Shaz. I've said Shaz, haven't I?
You said Shaz, yeah.
Anik.
Hi Anik.
Julie.
Julie.
And the very lovely Hilda.
Hi Hilda. Hope you're well.
Well, she's not actually.
Is she not? Oh dear. Never mind. So, anyway, there we go. Let's put that on there. That's where we're up to at present. Me next job. Stroke me imaginary beard. What should I do next? What I'm going to do next, I think, is introduce the... No, I'm not. Changed my mind. I was going to introduce me lace element, but I think I need to do something in this corner first. And what I'm going to do is introduce the die cuts. I've got... Let's turn that over so you can see them. I've die cutted two... I suppose they would be leaves of some sort. They came from this 11 Sizzix 11 die set, which is called, it says somewhere on the back, I think, Holiday Greens. It's got some ivy and fir branches and etc, etc. But what I thought was that those ones, which is that one there, actually would make a very nice tree. So I'm going to put a couple of trees in my landscape to jolly it up even more. And I think I'm going to use up this space here, I think. I don't mind if I come over slightly over Santa's sleigh because he is flying in the sky behind. And use this one, but perhaps the other way up, even though it was die cut the other way, just so it's got a slightly different look to it, and make it slightly smaller. Just chop it off something like that, I think is the idea. So I might do... I'll do the large one first. I think I'll position that first. I think I'm going to go something like that, I think. I don't mind coming over slightly over the sleigh because it is in the sky and he is behind it. He wouldn't be in front of the tree, obviously. Not unless his sat-nav's gone wrong. So what we need to do is, I suppose, is to bring back my gluing board. Get me two die cuts. Get rid of the bit of paper. Glue one up. Yeah, probably something like that. Bear in mind I need to put a hole there at some point. for the piece at the top. I think that would look nice there. So the very last bit we probably don't need to put any glue on, because that's probably going to get chopped off, but we need to go fairly near the bottom. Again, this is kind of a laborious job, so please bear with. I guess this is one of them jobs, if you've got one of those glue dot snail type things, you run it over and of course the dots only stick to where the paper is and not in the gaps. But I don't have one of those, so we'll just make do with the old glue. Something like that, I think, is probably perfectly alright. That's it. That's looking alright. Obviously missed that little bit down there. Nothing that can't be rectified at a later date, like now. There we go. Let's put a tree into our landscape. We're now going to do the other one, but we wouldn't want two identical trees. It's always better usually to give some variation in the height, and we'll use the back even though it was die cut the other way up, just to give it a different leaning aspect. I think we'll do something like that, so we don't need to glue any further down really than about there. And I think that will probably, yeah, looks alright. We'll glue that up and chop it off afterwards, I think is probably the way forward. I think the black and white works very well, particularly if you just sort of are more concerned with the design and form of it rather than actually, you know, worrying about any frou-frou. I think that's probably every bit. Let's put that. Ooh, now just to glue that the wrong way. Never mind. Never mind. It won't matter. Let's put that about there. Let's put that there. There we go. Push that down. Chop that off. Get me cutter. Where's my cutter gone? Don't forget to put my top on the glue. There we go. Just do this by height. Yeah. There we go. There we go. How are we looking? How are we looking, folks? Not too bad, I don't think. There we go. So, what next? The lace. So anyway, that's the die cuts. That's the ink and the die cuts. So what have we got left? We've still got the button, the lace, and we've used the doily as well. So just the button and the lace, really, I suppose. Now I've found this lace in a nice black. Let me use that. I mean, you can probably see that there, which I thought looked very reminiscent, in my opinion, of a fence. So what I thought I might do is use some of that just to go across the bottom there, and it would look like a fence. Don't take offence, as they say. I think the best thing to do with this, because it's quite floppy and there's more hole than lace, is probably use a piece of double-sided. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to take that out again. Bring that me board in case I stick it down to anything. And put a piece of double-sided right across the bottom, just in from the bottom. And the beauty of this, of course, it will tie in together the snowy scene and the bottom of the trees and put everything on a level. So I'll use the Teflon scissors just to snip that off. I think we owe thanks to Hilda, I think, for the Teflon scissors, and they're brilliant for cutting double-sided tape because it doesn't stick to them. So let's get that squashed down, and then we'll peel that off. We'll get some of our lace.
Hilda, lovely Hilda.
Lovely Hilda, indeed. We'll just come over the top, get that roughly along the bottom, without stretching it and pulling it too taut. And just get that straighter on the bottom. There we go, that's down there. And now trim off those edges, the scissors. That's that way, and that's that way. Now, so that's the lace part completed. Let me lift that up so you can see that. Now, I know some of you will be thinking at this point, isn't that sticky tape sticking up through the gaps in the lace? Will it not be sticky? It will indeed be sticky, I say to myself. So what I'm going to do is to use a product that I came across in the drawer the other day when we had a good tidy up. I'm not even sure they even make it anymore. And it's by Cosmic Shimmer. It's called Glitter Jewels. It comes in various sizes of crystal in black and white. This is quite a fine one, and it's called Diamond Snow, appropriately enough. And basically, it's not like embossing powder. You can mix it, it says on the back, with paint, PVA, scrumble glaze, embossing powders, and many other craft mediums. So you mix it with things, and it gives it sort of a gritty texture and gives it some sort of sparkle. But what in this instance I'm going to do is to just shake it along that bottom, where we put that lace in the double-sided tape. Don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but it is very sparkly stuff. I don't know if you can see that. No, it's not coming up. I'm going to shake that off. And I don't know whether you can see now, but that's put some sparkle in between that and stuck to the double-sided tape. So it's like using, I suppose, talcum powder or something like that, but it's added in the added benefit of giving us a little bit of sparkle. We don't want too much sparkle. We don't want to turn it into a children's craft project. I'll just put that now onto that board there. Sorry for the banging. And then we can pop that back in the pot and use it on another day. You can see it sparkling away on the board. Put that lid on. So that's Cosmic Shimmer Glitter Jewels in a Diamond Snow. Let's get rid of that glitter. Put it on my shirt, so more glittery for later. Bring back a bit of paper so we can see. So there we go. That's now. I've got the doily, the die cut, some ink, and the lace. So the only thing left really is the button. What I'll do is, I think, punch a hole first, and then there's one more thing I need to do, I think, prior to putting my lace on. Where are we? Where are we? Small hole, big hole. Just a rough idea. That's about 4. So the middle will be about there. I think I'll come into about there, I think. Get it fairly central. Pop a little hole in. There we go. There we go. So that's looking more tag-like now, I think, with a hole in. The next thing I want to do is to kind of bring it all together. We've got the nice elements there. We've got the snowdrifts, the hilly backdrop, if you like. Those, I think, look like some trees in the background, maybe, with snow on the branches. We have the other trees there. We've got Santa and the reindeer in the sky, the moon. But we just need to tie it all together. And what we're going to do with that is to get our other board, which is our inking board. And I'm just going to pop that on there. And we're going to create some interest, is what we're going to do. And for that I need, first off, a saucer and what they call a fan brush. As you can see, the shape of it is very like a fan. And that will become clear why I need that in a second or two. Right, where are we? Where are we? Where are we? I'm going to introduce another ink. This one is a Koh-i-Noor, and it's a drawing ink.
From Hilda.
From Hilda, is it? Yeah. Oh, Hilda, you're just such a superwoman. This is drawing ink by Koh-i-Noor. You can use it for dip pens. You can put it in fountain pens. As you can hear, it's got a ball bearing inside. Give it a good shake. Mix it all up. Because I've got a fan brush and quite a small bottle, I'm just going to put some of that onto the saucer, and then I'll put it back into the bottle later. But I need to be able to access this. It's just a white, a very pure white ink, really. And I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. So there we go. Take the top off. Comes with a little sort of spiky dropper, I think, I suppose, for putting stuff on. But we're just going to pour a little bit into there, hopefully without getting too much, because I don't want tons. Just enough so I can get the fan brush into it. We won't waste it because we can put it back into the bottle afterwards. Then we're going to take the fan brush and we're going to pick some of that ink up. I'm using this because it is very liquid, so it's going to easily do what I want it to do. We've got some of that on the brush now, and then we're going to go and doop, and put it over, and we're just going to tap it. We're just going to tap it on its finger, and hopefully we're going to get some what can only be described as a snowstorm. I think that would be the best way to describe it. Don't overdo it, he says to himself, tempting not to overdo it. Bring the piece of paper back, slide that under because it's still wet, and you can see that it's now looking like a very snowy scene, and because that's on top of everything, it's bringing it all together. It gives it a sort of cohesive feel rather than just random things stuck on top. As you can see, we've stuck purely to our black and white theme because that's what we wanted to do, and I'm sure you'll agree that that's coming on all right. I'll just put that ink back in there, not that there's much because we managed to this time. Normally when I use these inks it's very easy just to get carried away because it's very runny. But we'll just gather that together, pop it back in there. There we go. Pop that over there, pop the brush away. I think that's created a very nice effect. Got the inked board, which will give a wipe. There's usually get a few splatters around, but I can wipe them off before anybody notices. There we go. Clean up as we go. So there we go. I think that's looking quite nice, considering all things. Right, so while that's drying, I think what we need to do is to consider the ribbon lace tag top, call it what you will, and for that I've got some of this, which is it's called, well, this is Papercraft Society ribbon. I don't know why that is. It looks like it's probably, I don't know. It looks like the sort of thing that was probably came free with a magazine at some point. But it's quite nylon-y, but it is nice and white, which is with our theme. And I've also got some of this lace, which is got kind of, I suppose, a small paisley pattern on it, I suppose, for want of a better word.
It's like organza.
Yeah, like organza, but it's very nylon-y. That's like organza. That's very nylon-y, but it's, you know, they go well together because they're black and white and they suit our theme. So let me just pop that there out of the way. In fact, actually, what I might do is just get some gentle heat on that.
I meant the white one was like organza.
Yes, that's the organza one, the white one. I've just been pointing out. I think I did say that, but you know, I may not have initially said it. We're just going to gently heat that just to dry that ink off. It doesn't take much drying usually. Just the one or two larger snowflakes, shall we say. Take a bit longer, but that's all right, I think, now. So what we're going to do, I think, is probably put an eyelet through the hole just to decorate it and make it a little bit stronger. So let me have a quick rummage through the eyelet box. Got these ones here. Obviously, there's some heart-shaped ones in white. There's some flowery ones in white. I think might look quite nice. I think I'll probably stick with that one, I think. We don't want to go down the schmaltzy route, do we? So, I'm going to pop that through the hole. Fits well. Get me crocodile. Find the suitable end for it, which probably be that one, I would think. Slide that all the way to the front. Put that on, squeeze it down, feed it onto the knobble, and give it a squeeze. And there we go. That's looks quite nice there. Perfect colour. We can get rid of the crocodile now. I think we've finished with that. So what we're going to do is get a couple of lengths of that. Doesn't have to be too long, but I need enough to work with. I can always put the snippets in the snippet box for use at a later date. There's that piece of the white. About a similar length-ish. Get rid of those. Now, the keen-eyed amongst you will have noticed the one thing that we haven't used at the moment is the button. Got a nice white button there, you can see it. And what I'm going to do is use that to actually secure those. But what I'm going to use to do that is not thread as such, but some relatively thin ribbon. It's probably what, 3 mils, I would think, wide. Probably going to go for white. I'm going to take a piece of white off. Make sure I've got enough. And there we go. Let me just put that pin back in there, otherwise it'll all unravel, and next time we want some, it'll be all over the place. Right, so I'm going to avail myself of a clip, and the first thing I'm going to do is use a nice pokey tool, which is a small size knitting needle, and I'm going to put that on top of there and roll it up a bit smaller, and then push that through the hole. There we go. That's got those in there out of the way. Looking nice. Let's even them up slightly. Yeah, that's nice. And then what I'm going to do is just give them a little twist and then attach a clip. Just makes it easier for me to tie things around it without needing the third hand, which is something you always need really when you're crafting, is the third hand. Now I'm going to thread this relatively thickish ribbon through the eyes on that button, and for that I'm going to need the needle. Do you know where the needle case went? She can't hear me, so I don't suppose she can answer that. Oh, it went back in there. Here's our needle case. Now I have a very large needle. You can see it's quite a large needle, but it has a very large eye as well. But it's.
I thought you took the needle out.
I've got it. No, I didn't. I'm sorted. There we go. It's quite a large eye on it, but it is still quite parallel because sometimes they bulge out. And just to make sure I can pass that through the button easily enough, all the way through. But that large eye makes it very easy just to pop that through, as easy as that. And then what I'm going to do is just put it down that way a bit, pop it through the button, through one side of the button, and pull that ribbon through. Then what I'm going to do is to pass that round one time and then come back through the other hole on the button and pull it out, take the needle off, and there we have that ribbon that's wrapped round once round the two pieces of lace, and we can pull that tight, and you'll see that it pulls. I can take that off now probably. It pulls the piece that I've tucked around the back, it pulls that tight at the same time. And then what you can do is do a little reef knot, left over right, pull that tight, because at that point you can still tighten it, and then it's right over left for the classic reef knot. And there we go, we can now take that off. And that button is now securing those using the ribbon that we now can arrange those so that they fall nicely. We can put this into a little bow. There we go. Nice little bow. Get the scissors, trim them ends off so they look a bit neater. That one's not so bad, but we'll do it at an angle. And then we can trim these off so that they look slightly more neater. Put them at a similar length. Go across that way and across that way. And I think pretty much pull that tight, pull that tight. I think we can now see that it's come out quite neat and tidy for me anyway. There's our snow scene. So as a quick check, wherever the piece of paper went, we have the Take 5 challenge. We've got the doily, the ink which we used on the snowdrift and in the sky with the white, and we've got the lace across the bottom, we've got the button holding that on, and we've got the die cut fuzzy cuts, which is the trees there. So I think that's probably pretty much the challenge complete, I would say. I'm going to go for one tiny bit of whimsy. And I'm going to get this pens, which are Posca pens. I don't know whether you come across them, but they're basically acrylic paint in a pen. Comes in various size nibs. You can use it for drawing on ceramics. You can draw on white cups and bake it in the oven and it dries on, and you can decorate cups and plates and stuff. You can use it if you're using acrylic painting. If you need a very fine line, it's sometimes easier just to use that than try and get a fine line with a rigger brush. But in this instance, I just want to put a dot of white on somewhere because I'm going to use a colour and it might not show up so well on its own. So you can hear inside of them, again it's one of these ball bearings, just to stir it up. And on this reindeer here, I'm just going to put a little bit of a dab of a white. I'm just going to pop that away, wait for that to dry a little. In fact, I'll use the gun again just to make sure it does, because I don't want it going all wrong at this point. And the last one I'm going to do is this one, which is another Posca. And this is red, and I'm sure you can guess what I'm going to do with this. It's a bit of an homage to Steven Spielberg and Schindler's List, when the only bit of colour in the film was the red coat on the little girl. A very sad film, but you should watch it. And I'm just going to put a little bit of red just there. It's my own little bit of whimsy on the entire thing. I don't know whether you can see that now, but the little lead reindeer has got a little red nose. That's my sop to a little bit of whimsy. And that's a bit about it, I think. I hope you enjoyed that. I've enjoyed doing it. It turned out, I think, reasonably well, considering. And I think that's about it for now. Miss P will be on again tomorrow. I'm not sure what she's doing. Time will tell. I shall probably be on sometime early next week because I need to do the cover for the Holly Jolly Journal. And we'll be creating a book cover for that from scratch. And I might do it live, I might need to do it on videos because there is certain amounts of drying time which makes for dull viewing. So for those that aren't already on it, if you pop along to Miss Paintalot's Junk Journal group on Facebook, there'll be a Take 5 challenge again next Tuesday. If you go along there now, there's some very, very good interest in people's take on the challenge, full of variation. And that's my offering. So thank you very much, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.